My Baby Mama, Part 4. A Story by Eby's Heart. Lisa's death shook the entire Okoye's family. To make matters worse, Lisa died of food poisoning. Lisa's cook was questioned by the police, but she insisted Lisa did not eat anything at home throughout the day. Her nanny was also questioned, and she said Lisa visited Madame Okoye's home the very day she died. All the evidence pointed towards Lisa being poisoned at Madame Okoye's home. But Oma was not suspected because she was pregnant. Madame Okoye even stopped the police from questioning her. She insisted questioning her will traumatize her grandchild in her belly. Some of the Okoye women never married. They believed in bearing more children for the Okoye dynasty than having children that will answer another man's name. This was also the case of Madame Okoye, Chike's mother. She never married, she simply gave birth to Chike, while she managed her father's businesses and wealth. This tradition made the bond between the Okoyes very close and tight. So suspecting any Okoye of harming Lisa was absurd, because they cared for one another. This also made the police to conclude that Lisa was poisoned wherever she went to before even going to Madame Okoye's mansion. She was buried, but Oma did not attend, because Madame Okoye stopped her from attending, because her due date was close, according to Dr. Obi. Oma visited her mother few days to the supposed delivery date, so they can finalize their plans. Even though Madame Okoye didn't want her to go, she also wanted Oma to be happy. Chike on the other hand have been cheating with different women, and have refused to go close to Oma throughout the pregnancy journey. Assuming he went close to her, he would have found out the fraud she was into. Rather he was busy praising Oma for being so understanding of men's nature. He would always boast to his friends of how Oma understands that a man cannot settle for only one woman, and should be allowed to cheat, especially when their wives are pregnant. One of his friends even had serious problems in his marriage, because he was trying to make his wife see men as Oma. Chike wanted Oma to deliver their baby abroad, but Oma told him he preferred Dr. Obi. Oma and her family forced Dr. Obi to deliver the mad woman's babies a day before Oma will fall into labor. They wanted to be sure they already have the babies at hand. The mad woman gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Oma's mother was over the moon. Dr. Obi immediately announced that Oma was expecting twins. Madame Okoye danced and danced while asking, "Why have you not told me since?" Chike was so happy too. Oma was admitted the same day the mad woman gave birth. Her mother was also at the hospital waiting for everything to fall in place. Few hours later, Madame Okoye, who was at the reception, was called in to hold her grandchildren. She was over the moon with joy. Chike sat beside Oma, kissing her forehead and shouting congratulations. Dr. Obi discharged them the next day. Few days later, Madame Okoye called her lawyers to hand her shares over to her grandchildren. She also paid for so many properties in the twins' name. The Okoyes bought a very beautiful home for Oma's family, opened a big foodstuff business for Oma's mother. They doubled Oma's allowance. "I told you our lives will change once you give birth," Oma's mother said to Oma, laughing. Soon, Oma bankrolled all her siblings as money was surplus. 7 years later, the twins had grown and the Okoyes were looking forward to welcoming them in their family. Madame Okoye was constantly saying how the twin girl had her charisma. Oma visited her mother to discuss what they will do concerning that day. That is the day they will welcome the twins into Okoye's family. "Mama, I am worried. Does it mean we are going to lose all we have because of this? They will discard me and find another wife for their son. We need to come up with a plan immediately. This cannot be the end." Oma and her mother sent assassins after Chike. Chike, who was always at the club until late in the night, was pursued by a car on his way back. He tried to maneuver his way out of the situation and had a fatal accident. When Madame Okoye and Oma were called to come to the hospital that something terrible happened to Chike, Oma was very happy that she and her mother succeeded, but was disappointed that Chike survived. Chike survived with a spinal cord injury. His waist down to his feet was paralyzed. Madame Okoye was wailing and convulsing when Dr. Obi was telling them Chike's situation. And there is another issue. Dr. Obi continued. Chike may not be able to father a child in his life again. Madame Okoye didn't flinch much at this news. I don't think that is too bad since he already have 2 children. I am only concerned about how he will cope. Madame Okoye said and continued crying. Dr. Obi turned and looked at Oma, who was obviously happy and relieved. Mama, he didn't die, he survived, but with an injury that have rendered him impotent, Oma said happily to her mother on the phone. So we have one, even if they find out the twins are not Okoyes, they will even protect them more because there is no other hope of another grandchildren. Oma's mother said laughing on the phone. Let's us wait until next year for the stupid ceremony. After dealing with Madame Okoye, she will realize not to take the poor people working for her for granted. Oma's mother said laughing.